have invocation from Word of Life?
Yep. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this life that you've given to us and the blessing of living in this community that we call home. Father, I ask that you'd grant wisdom to all of those who are serving us tonight in areas of leadership and decision-making. Pray that all those who would desire to have their voices heard would have the ability to have clear thought and clear communication. And may we all remember your instruction to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry. We thank you for the blessing of living in this community at a blessed harvest time. We thank you for all of this in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Roll call, please.
Olson,
Here.
Rice,
Here.
Tronis,
Here.
Dosher,
Here.
Barrington,
Here.
Allen,
Here.
Tarks,
Here.
Smith.
Approval of consent agenda. Items appearing on the consent agenda may be removed by a city council member for discussion at the beginning of the formal agenda items. Does anyone on the council have anything they wish to have removed from the consent agenda? If not, does anyone from the public have anything they wish to have removed from the consent agenda? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as listed.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Smith,
Aye.
Tarks,
Aye.
Allen,
Aye.
Barrington,
Aye.
Dosher,
Aye.
Tronis,
Aye.
Rice,
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Motion carried. Citizen input. If you need to address the mayor and members of the city council on an item that was not on the agenda, please come forward to the podium and state your name and your concern. Presentations are limited to 3 minutes. Items will be considered, but no action will be taken at this time. Stephanie?
I do have 2 items for the council. First, on your desk this evening, whatever time of day we're in, sorry about that, I handed out some information. We were working on putting together just some informational pieces about the pool. As you can see, what we have so far is on the first page would show the resolution that's actually being referred. I know there's been discussion as to what is and is not included in the project. This resolution is what's being referred, so it lists the equipment that was included in the pool as well as the funding sources. The third page would show, I know there was some question about what did option B look like again. So I did have the visual of that showed all the items included with the cost, the total cost being $8 million. Now, it's been a long time since I've looked at this again, so I just want to make sure everyone notices where it says aquatics cost, that's aquatics costs included in the pool. So those items that are detailed below are included in the total cost up above. It's been a while since I looked at it.
Slide and tower?
Yep, that's in that cost, and it's listed on the resolution for the equipment included. So when I first looked at this, I was kind of misreading it. So when Mayor Toomey and I were looking at it, I was reading that to say not included, but it is included. So just want to make sure I wanted to point that out. The next page showed when you were considering the various site locations for a pool. I did black out the comments on the other 2 site locations because this is the one that the council had taken action on, was located next to the rec center. So this kind of shows that real preliminary schematic drawing that the council had reviewed when you approved the location. The next page would be the estimated operational costs. The last time you guys saw this, it showed the 1 pool versus the 2 pool and 2 different locations. Dusty went through and just took it down to what we're currently paying and then what it would be just operating the new pool alone. We wouldn't have 3 pools. It would just be the new addition as shown in option B. So it kind of cleaned that operational cost up so that you're only seeing what's relevant for the election.
Stephanie?
Yep.
We still have the rec pool, right?
No, at the time you got,
Go away?
that one would go away. That's what the council had discussed last, unless you changed that. This would have the leisure pool and the competition pool. If you kept both, you would have to add both columns together to get the total cost.
It was, I remember it was a phase.
No, it wasn't phased, yeah, not that I'm aware of.
I was gonna say, one would not be shut down until the other was operational.
But then it would be shut down. But you can still look at it as the current operations is the pool as it exists in the rec center. The one that says proposed, that's that option B plan. So if you're just doing option B, it's the column on the right. The items listed below are the different items that the rec has either brought up, or the Park and Rec Department has either brought up to during various council meetings, or one was proposed by MAC. So the first one is the user agreement. I think one of you had requested what we would charge, for their use of the facility, similar to what we do to the Hockey Association. So that's their estimate on the agreement. This reallocation of current city appropriation, when the council voted on the pool, the MAC club came up and said that that's the amount that we currently fund out of the general fund to them, that they said they would no longer need it if they're not maintaining the pool that they have now. So that shows that $12,000 offset. And then the last page there is just the election timeline that Michelle received from the Secretary of State's office. It shows when we have to do everything in order to meet the deadlines required by statute for the date that you selected.
So if I'm reading the front page here right, the play equipment, the slide and tower and the access equipment, that's all the fun stuff that's going to be back into the pool.
That's in there, and it's in the, on the page that shows the site B, Plan B, it's also included in that cost down there.
Okay, because
So-
we had a gentleman here 2 weeks ago, didn't know if it was included, so that the good stuff where maybe Mitchell can be a destination point for the summertime, we'll have it in here.
And I do remember that when the council was discussing and acting on this, I believe at the time you were looking at taking the pool out. But the resolution, which is what the last action the council took, was based on that Plan B and then all the equipment listed. So that's why I thought it was maybe just important to just clarify for everybody. If with the council's approval, we'd like to put the information on the website so that anybody who wants to go and get it can.
Well, I have two comments. First of all, I don't think we should put the proposed revenue offsets
Okay.
on there. And the reason I'm saying that is, these would require council action, this would require negotiations and a vote, we haven't done that. If we want to put the cost differential of running a new pool as opposed to an old pool, those are pretty solid numbers. But, for example, we could say the usage agreement is 20,000 instead of 16
Yep.
or 12,000 or whatever. Then the other comment I would have, and I would like you and Carl to research this. I'm wondering what the legality is of having displays of the location and the pool at the polling place. Not saying vote for the pool, not saying don't vote for the pool, but simply having something on a chart up where voters could look and they
Oh.
could see that this is what the pool is and what's included. And they could see, where it would go and how it would situate. I'm not sure what the legality of that is.
I know why reason you're asking that relates to rules of the selection,
Right.
electioneering generally.
Yes.
Yeah, and I haven't.
And I have no idea. It's going to take some research. I don't expect an answer tonight, but it would be nice if it was allowed for people to see, because
Unplug it here. Yep, get your feet up there.
I would hate people to go in and say, well, gosh, I'd vote for the pool if it only had a slide, when in fact, it has a slide. So, if that's, to me, it's not electioneering. It's simple information. And then if in fact, as you mentioned, there's going to be, 4,200 ballot items on there, I forget what you said, 16 or 17, whatever.
That would be next year.
Oh, that's true, I forgot about
we're-
that.
this
Yeah,
is a
this is,
single item,
this is special, okay. But if we could, again, if it's legal, I think that would be very important for the public to see.
Yeah, I promise I'll find it specific.
Right.
Never heard that question before, but I'll.
Yeah.
I can contact the Secretary of State's office in the morning, and I would think they would know.
And
the
maybe even
answer.
fax them the stuff, so
Yep.
they have something to look at.
And I would have no problem taking that bottom part off. Really, all we brought to you is everything that's been discussed up to this point in council meetings, and that's why I want you to tell me what you want or not want on there.
part of it is we decided to give as much information as we could to the
Right.
public, let them decide.
Right.
So what can't we give them?
Well,
Because I see a lot,
You set up a booth, so many feet away, for instance, there'd be no question there, your question is when getting inside.
Right.
Is it 300 feet, I don't even remember what it is.
well, for example, when they voted, and I get my Catholic churches mixed up, the one by the bypass. Holy Spirit. I could not have yard signs in the yards of the people who lived across the street from, because it was within the area. Right. So, but again, I think we should give them facts. The proposed revenue offsets at this point, unless we're going to vote on them tonight, are not facts.
Okay.
The other thing that kind of take it a step further, Mel, is we've got basically 5 pages of information that we understand, and obviously we're trying to get information out. But at the point in time that the language is written for the ballot, how specific are you supposed to be? I mean,
Well, I have to write that, and I have not really undertaken that, but I expect it within the next week.
okay. Because, a lot of this information is important, but, you want them to have this real important information and not lose them halfway through and then confuse them for the vote too. So
And I just really,
maybe Mel's idea might clarify it a little bit, that if you want to learn more about it, here's the display, and is something included or not, well, then you can look at it and see, but.
Association would, provide you can put it in the newspaper.
When are we supposed to have that language completed, Carl? Does it matter?
I'm not sure when that is.
If it was
Okay, because I see it's obviously, absentee voting begins next month, so.
Yeah, and
and
I think having it on the website is fine, but I also think when people come, a visual thing would be.
See a picture of it,
Yeah.
or even if you could display it.
Sure.
I mean,
we have it in digital image, so we could probably print off a nice picture on the blotter or something that's easy to see and.
Even if we could prevail on our friends at the Daily Republic to print it, the morning of the election or something, or the couple days before the election.
that seems to me like late though. I mean, if we're gonna educate the public, why don't we do it before election day?
Well, again, I'm not opposed to putting it on the website, and I think we should put it on the website. I think we have to be careful about electioneering as a city.
I think
And-
the proponents will probably put something together, I would suspect, Dave.
And my point here, for everyone's reference, in visiting with Mayor Tumu, we just thought, let's find a way to get in one thing that someone could download that just shows the action the city took up till now, so everybody understands what's included, what's not included. I can easily take off the proposed revenue. It had been discussed before, but you're right, it hasn't been acted on. So at least you'll have this information. If somebody wants to go and get this information and use it for other purposes, either pro or con, they can. But at least we've given them the information that the city has in one spot that's consistent. That was our discussion.
To
So-
I would
Dave's,
think the
Well-
other thing too is getting that written up with Carl sooner than later for
Yeah.
both sides.
Right.
Because from elections, we all know a yes vote doesn't necessarily mean it's
That's
passed. Depends on how you word it, you know what I mean?
Yes,
So,
vote is in favor of, building the pool, and no vote.
Okay.
but for both those organizations,
Be the last.
the for and against, so they can start getting their propaganda out there the way they want it to be worded properly, so it needs to be done soon.
well, to Dave's point, why couldn't we have boards made up? Even if we can't display them at an election place, we could put them in the public library, we could put them in City Hall, and if people want to avail themselves of that, they certainly can.
The rec center.
Rec
Sure.
center, yeah. I don't know how much a board would cost, but
I don't think it'd be bad to do. I think that's easy to do. We can get that done. That's a good idea. And just to have them up until the election in those places, I think that's a good idea.
and again, I see nothing wrong with, this is what it is. I mean, if you want it, fine. If you don't want it, fine. We're not taking a position. This is just, if you vote yes, this is what you get. And if you vote no, this is what you're turning down.
People
just-
need to know what they're voting for, because
Right,
right now,
exactly.
whatever, there's confusion there. What is it? They're a pool by itself. I mean, even though we've been preaching what it is, they're still confused out there, what
Right.
we're really voting for yet, so.
So just,
I'll be able to clarify that.
just as a clarification,
I mean, don't you think that, so you're saying that we can't put any of this, the operational costs, but don't you think it's important for them to know?
No, I think the operational costs are facts as well as we can know
Oh,
them.
not the revenue.
You're talking about the proposed
But the
revenue
revenue-
offsets.
That's not part of the.
So I'll just take that bottom part out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
No problem.
Okay.
and, you know,
Which is
I mean, it could be much more, it could be much less, depending on what people here decide to do.
Is it unplugged?
Not yet.
Not yet. He's working on it.
I'm also wondering about the absentee voting. We've got it down here as November 23rd. This is over the holidays. 15 days is the minimum. I wonder if we shouldn't start that sooner because of the holidays, the absentee voting.
Should have, should be a lower ballot.
No, he's,
What?
that's not what he's
The minimum is 15 days. You can't do absentee voting within 50, I mean, it's got to be at least 15 days, but it can be longer than 15 days. And that's why I'm saying I wonder if we shouldn't start it sooner because, I mean, 3 days after it begins is Thanksgiving and then you're going into the Christmas holidays. I think we should allow a little longer time for absentee voting. What your thoughts on it are?
So when what do you propose, like the 16th of November, a week ahead of that?
I'd say at least 30 days, maybe 45 days, even at least 30, I think.
Can't do that.
well, yeah,
Yeah, you
I
can't.
think,
I'm doing my math. We're already October 5th.
We're already
We voted 2
about
months.
60 days
Well, yeah.
out.
We voted 60 days, so.
30 days.
And that's really comes back down to when that part gets written and everything else, because people start voting without proper information, then it's not even right.
And we have to send the ballots out to get printed and get them back, so
Yeah.
there's some timeline.
When do you think the
Will we
earliest could
have
be
a
then?
chance to see the verbiage before it's submitted for the ballots at all, or is that in an email? Would that be?
and, you know, as a guy who's run in elections, you got to give the both sides an opportunity to make their case. And
Exactly.
you can't have people voting for 20 days before you have an opportunity to make your case.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah, that was my concern too, just so all the information is out there before we start absentee voting. You know, I would think an extra week would be
Yeah.
definitely feasible. And we
I think
can
it
see
should
when
be a
we get
little
the
extra time
ballots
just
back.
because of the holiday, I think.
Yeah, we can see when we get the ballots back and
Two
go
full
from
meetings
there.
is probably not more than 2 weeks.
The snowbirds are heading south, yeah. Get some of those too, you know.
Now, it's important that the ballot question be neutral.
Yes.
So I will distribute it, if anybody has any comment on that, I would greatly appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay.
I have one thing. Do you have more?
I have one more and then
Okay.
I'm done. I did hear response. I sent out a doodle poll to try to find our next work session date. We, at our budget session, had decided to remove the cost of repair for City Hall, but that would be the first thing that we brought at the next work session for our discussion. We do have 2 dates where everyone responded to, and it was Monday, the 26th, or Wednesday, the 28th. And I didn't know, everybody said both, so if it's okay with everyone, we could just go Monday, the 26th from 5:30 to 7:30? Okay. And the only,
Used to be in here anyway.
what's that?
We're used to being here anyway.
It's kind of easier on Mondays because you're kind of planning on
5:30
that.
to 7:30?
Yep, 5:30 to 7:30. Everybody said that was okay, and then that way you can still have time in your night to get other
Do
things
you
done.
have notes, I mean, do we have meeting minutes, like, or meeting notices go out, notes,
Excuse me?
notice notes, meeting minutes,
You mean like minutes from the previous work
not
sessions?
meetings. Notice of a meeting, so that goes on your calendar.
I can send that out.
Outlook,
Yep, I'll send that out. Outlook calendar invite. Yep, absolutely. No problem. And you guys don't have to put it in your calendar. And so the one item for sure, the one item for sure that I have is our discussion on City Hall because we had deferred that discussion from budget hearings. So we can start there and I'm sure 2 hours, that might be as far as we can.
And
I'm
will
not
we
sure.
meet here?
I haven't determined the location yet. I'm assuming that we would come here if that's okay with everybody else. I know you wanted to try other locations. We can try the library again if you liked that setup last time. Just until I confirmed a date, I hadn't checked on off-site locations yet. Okay. That's all I have.
Before we move on to the committee reports, is there any other citizen input?
I have one item. Terry, I was hoping Tim would be here. I got called from some people on William Street about the drainage, and I understand you've already been out there. Is there any hope for those folks?
We're talking by Sunnyside Court or?
Yeah,
Probably the 1100 block.
Yeah.
I got the same call, Mel. I
yeah,
believe.
yeah.
1104, 1108.
Oh, is it because of
West
the,
Williams.
The new construction?
oh, because of the sump hose?
Yeah.
Draining out? I'm gonna work out a price to, basically is what the new construction, house that was built, his sump hose is draining out in the street, okay? Which is what we want.
Right.
We don't want sump hoses really draining into the backyard because all it's doing is basically recycling the water back into your sump pit again and doing the same thing. So we want it to go out in the street. In this case, the street is very flat, so it's gonna sit in the gutter and there's gonna be a constant, water sitting out there. What I told the guy, he said, well, why don't you just put in a drain tile or something like that? That way it could go into the drain tile and then drain right into the, catch basin. I told him that I would work out a price, present it to Tim, and then he would present it to you guys to see if that's something that we want to do.
Now, he said too that something happened when they built the street and that they can't shut off the water to his house if they want to work on it.
Each house has their own curb box, and in his case, the curb box got buried underneath what we think is the asphalt drive, underneath the concrete driveway approach. We can't detect it because the curb box is metal, and he's got metal rebar in his driveway. So there's no way to really know if it's there or not until we tear out that driveway approach. So that could be another possibility by putting in the drain tile when we tear out his driveway.
Okay.
If there is no other citizen input, move on to the committee reports, public health and safety.
We had a public health and safety meeting, presentation by Davison County Office of Emergency Management, Jeff Bathke, Emergency Management Director, and Mark Jennings, Emergency Manager Deputy Director. He outlined the emergency management structure of the county, the disaster declaration process, and the responsibility and recovery procedure flow chart. Also informed us of the search and rescue and their 5-year plan, of which they're looking for mitigation ideas, and the 5-year plan meeting, second group of that will be this coming Wednesday. And then there will be another one in November, the final meeting of that. So updated that, the council or the committee on their activities, and we adjourned at 7:15.
Finance Committee report.
Finance Committee met this evening at Finance Committee met this evening at 7:13 p.m. One item on the agenda was the third quarter sales tax numbers. And again, happy to report that we are on the correct side of the increase. We actually are up right at $87,000 per first and second penny sales tax for the prior year. We're actually in through the third quarter $3.9 million, and the same time period last year was $3,813,000. So again, that was a 2.28% increase. So hopefully, if things prevail as we're hoping in the fourth quarter and the pheasant hunters come out, then we'll actually be above our budget numbers. Entertainment tax was actually up significantly. Last year we had $503,000 through the third quarter, and this year we have $554,000, so an increase of $51,000. And we had some discussions of what was the reasonings behind, and we came up with a few of them. And Michelle had indicated that with looking at the bid numbers that we are collecting on from last year at this time to this year, there was 5,700 more hotel rooms that were rented sold through the time period. So, again, that was a sizable increase. It was 10.25%. So hopefully, again, we have a very good fourth quarter. And the committee adjourned at 7:23.
I would entertain a motion to approve both the Public Health and Safety Report and the Finance Committee reports as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Board of Adjustment. I would entertain a motion of the City Council to recess and sit as a Board of Adjustment.
So moved.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Hearing. Next item on the agenda is a hearing on the application of Laura Pisek, applicant of Vera Queen of Peace. She's the owner for a conditional use permit for a family residential child care located at 1209 East 5th Avenue, legally described as Lot 4, Block 6, Gleason's Addition, City of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota.
If you could see in your planning commission minutes that their planning commission did hold a hearing in this request and have recommended approval of it with 3 conditions. One condition is that they pass a fire inspection, and just today I found out the fire marshal has inspected it and it's been approved. So that has been taken care of. 2 is that it is not transferable. And 3 is that if the operation ceases for a period of 6 months or longer, then a reapplication would have to be applied for. So again, already one of the conditions has already been satisfied. There was no objection to this.
Move to approve with the conditions.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Reconvene as the City Council. I would entertain a motion for the Board of Adjustment to adjourn and the City of Council to reconvene in regular session.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Action to approve support of Mitchell Housing Authority for tax credits, Meadow Lawn Plaza.
Okay, in case you don't know what this is, the Housing Authority has applied for a grant that is offered through the state. And what they do is they fund people to put up their money, and the state gives them tax credits for this. It's in excess of $5.7 million, and it's to rehab the Meadow Lawn Plaza. We're finding we're having problems with the building. When they built it, they put concrete walls up, and their sewer is down inside the concrete. So if you have a blockage in sewer and you got to go in and fix it, you got to tear out the concrete. They're looking at, we put together a plan to empty out a couple of the apartments and work on a couple of apartments at a time. We move the people to the next apartment, and while we do the rehab, and then it's an ongoing thing. It'll take several years. But the grant was due on the 30th of August. There was one of 12 that was offered into the state from different places in the state. We've already had the visit from the people that come to look at the projects. We're hoping to know here in the next couple of weeks whether they're going to give us part of it, all of it, whatever. But that's what the $5.673 million is what it's going to take to completely do the project. And so it's going to have to be done whether we get a grant or not. So the authority does have some money, but they'd rather use the grant money to where it's paid back by the tax incentive versus take it out of our operational funds. So, and they just need to go with support, letter of support.
Letter of support, that's what it is.
They said that they needed a copy of the minutes from the council also approving.
I had already sent them a
support.
letter of support from myself, but they also need one from the council.
And I'm sent one as the board member.
Probably everybody knows this, but Meadow Lawn Plaza is a city of Mitchell facility operated through Mitchell Housing Authority.
Move to approve.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Action on resolution number 3303, a plat of lots 1, 2, and 3, a Ramel First Edition in the west one-half of the east one-half of the northwest one-quarter of Section 4, Township 102 North, Range 60 west of the 5th PM, Davidson County, South Dakota.
Again, if I direct your attention to the last planning commission minutes, you would see that the planning commission did hold a hearing on this request. Just to kind of get your bearings straight, it's on the south part of town. However, this is outside our city zoning jurisdiction, so it would be whatever the county's regulations that would be applicable on this. However, because it's within 3 miles of the city limits by state statute, the city council has to, and the city planning commission have to review the plat. And if you probably noted in the planning commission minutes on the plat, there's a reference to an easement that's drawn out at 40 feet, and the planning commission recommends to the county that easement be a 66 feet right away with anticipate that would be more suitable for city potential, if this would ever become a city street, I suspect. So, but I tell you what, since this is applicable for the county, Jeff Bathke with the planning and zoning of the county is here, and he maybe would have shed some light on this as well, at least from the county's perspective. And then I'll go from there.
The only thing I'll add is they did recommend that road be wider than the 40 feet. The whole south part of that is floodplain, so it can't be developed. The most they could probably put is one house down there. So it'd be that house plus lot 2 and lot 3 could access their lot from 256 or from that easement.
And they know this, are going to be knowing this. Do they know this already?
Dan?
Yes.
I don't believe he probably does.
So, Neil, what happens if we say, yeah, we'll approve, but it's got to be the 66 feet? Does that get any ice with the county? Or
No, it's just that it's a recommendation. That's the reason why, that's just, so far it's just the planning commission's recommendation. It is the county's ordinances that are applicable. It's just that, it's a recommendation. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention and see if you either concur or don't with their recommendation, so.
I know it's state law, and I know you're the messenger, but I just think that this is the craziest thing. We have to approve, but we have no control, and if we think that it's not good without the 66 feet, it doesn't matter anyway. So, I mean, I don't get it. Yeah.
I'm going to make a recommendation to approve Resolution 3303.
Second.
Now, does this include the recommendation that it be 66 feet by the
I guess
plan?
that can be up to the county to decide.
Well, the reason the planning commission, they don't want to run into another
Oh, no, I hear you.
street.
Yeah. They're trying to look
discussed
ahead.
60 foot, they did, but like Jeff said, it's all floodplain, but still, it's one of those things that you might want to get back further someplace else too.
We had a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
No, just ornery.
Really?
Motion carried. Report and discussion. Bids received and opened by the finance officer in regards to Lot W-1B, a subdivision of Lot W-1 in Lot H1 in the north one-half of the southeast one-quarter of Section 15, Township 103 North, Range 60 west of the 5th PM, City of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota.
Yeah, I'm not sure we had any bids. If we did, my recommendation from Tim that I'm relating is that we would not, that we reject it and rescind the sale, and that, and in the resolution rescinding the sale authorizing resolution, incorporated that we put something on the record of the property for corporate memory. City council can put it on, city council can take it off, but here again, unless there's somebody who knows the history of that, there's a history there that Tim thought was pretty important for us, and it is, I do believe, now that we know it. And I would, that resolution.
So we just take it off. Right, we just take it off, just remove it from,
Excuse me?
move it from being sold, we just can remove
Oh,
it.
yes, that rescinds the resolution authorizing the sale.
So
And
this first part is just reporting discussion.
can be denied.
Well, thankfully, again, that we got Tim coming back and telling us what has happened the last 25 years in the city of Mitchell. And so in the process, we thought we were doing the right thing and put some more land on the tax rolls, but in the end, we're buying ourselves a huge liability if we follow through with that.
Exactly right.
I think we just need to move forward and take the recommendation of our city attorney and keep our property.
And there were no bids received for that? No.
I think we should move on to resolution of 3304 then. A resolution rescinding previously adopted resolution number 3302. Discussion?
Second.
Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Second reading and adoption, ordinance number 2524, supplemental appropriation.
Yeah, you did, the council did receive an explanation last week, I believe, from Terry Johnson, that this is the utilities for Spruce Street.
Move to place ordinance 2524 on second reading.
Second?
Any discussion?
I was just going to ask, Mayor, how it's progressing.
Yeah. Spruce Street in general.
Spruce Street in general, okay? Well, to start, all of the utilities are in, okay? So all, that is done. We paved on Friday and on Saturday. Paved the bottom and partial of top lift from Omen all the way to Miller. The next stretch will be, they will be getting from Miller all the way to Wisconsin ready this week, and we're hoping that that section will be paved next week. So a majority of the project is complete. Now we're just kind of waiting to work with Commercial Asphalt's schedule and making sure we get the road ready to go, but it's nice to see it going black.
So Ullman to Miller's done.
Ullman to Miller is
Now Norway to Miller.
is probably 70% done. There's a section right before you get to Miller that the second pass needs to be finished, and we got a little bit of a soft spot we're gonna have to dig up, rebuild, and then we'll have to repave, and then from there we'll go all the way to Wisconsin, which is right there by James Valley Nursery. So going really well.
That's great. I also saw, Terry, that the inlets for the storm sewer further east of there on Norway are being replaced.
Correct. So you're seeing inlets on Cabela Drive and on Spruce being replaced from Raleigh all the way to basically Highway 37.
So I remember the story way back when, they just weren't constructed.
That was a budget item that we had budgeted money to replace those inlets with a better inlet that are two inlets bolted together. What was happening is when we get truck traffic and vehicle traffic, they were breaking some of the flanges and supports in them, so then they were dipping down, and we just had huge safety and hazard issues. And we also had a little bit of settlement in the valley gutter that was at Spruce and Cabela Drive, so we also replaced that. When we built that whole stretch, it was a wet area and really tough to construct. So we're going to have some of those issues with the construction area that we had a hard time working with. So now we have waited long enough to where that settlement hopefully is done, but we're still going to have probably a little bit. But with this type of these type of inlets that we're putting in now, they really hold up. We have used that type of inlet before, and it'll make it work a lot better, and it'll look a lot better. So.
Is there a motion? Oh, second, okay. Is there any public comment? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Move to adopt.
Discussion? Is there any public comment? Roll call.
Barrington.
Aye.
Allen.
Aye.
Charts.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Rice.
Aye.
Tronis.
Aye.
Gosher.
Adoption approved. Action to approve bids. Cemetery Halen, project number 2016-5.
On the 29th of September, we had a Hayland bid for the cemetery. This is the area to the west of the cemetery property. We had two bids. Paul Stevenson at $3,030 per year, which is $131.73 per acre. We would recommend awarding to Paul Stevenson, and this will be for haying seasons 2016, 17, and 18.
Terry, I just have one question. I know with the airport land, they've gone to 3-year bids that then are automatically renewable if both sides agree to that. Is this one of those, or is it open for rebid in 3 years?
I'm not sure. I believe it's open to rebid, but I'm not sure on that specific.
That's alfalfa, isn't it, that we
Yeah.
maintain? Yeah, so it's not different.
Yeah, alfalfa in the airport, and that of course is because it takes a whole year before you even get anything, so.
Discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Hydra vacuum valve exerciser and accessories, project number 2015-34.
Also on the 29th of September, we had a bid for a hydrovacuum valve exerciser. So basically what this is a unit with a 250-gallon tank on there to where we could go in, we could suck out inside of gate valves that get full of dirt and debris and rocks, or the same with sucking out in little curb boxes that get filled full of rocks. When we get rocks and dirt and debris that fill in those boxes, we can't access them, which means if we got a water main break, we can't turn off the valve in order to turn off a certain area. So we've been looking at this for the last couple of years. Really are looking forward to getting a unit like this. This unit also comes with a valve exerciser. So once we get onto that valve nut, we'll be able to operate that valve. If it doesn't operate it real well, we could tighten it down to a certain torque to where we don't want to bust the valve, but we could get it to where there are certain limits. And if it doesn't operate all the way, we could work it forward, go back and reverse, and keep on working it through. We had one bid through Dakota Supply Group for the amount of $55,543.84. We would recommend awarding to Dakota Supply Group.
And the budgeted amount was $57,000, so it is under budget.
Why just one group?
We this unit that they are speccing is Herco out of Harrisburg, South Dakota. When we talked to some of the other vendors, they are also a dealer for Herco, but they have an agreement that if you ask for a demo, we cannot interject into a bid. So there's a bidding war in between a couple different suppliers. So that was the reason that we heard of that only one supplier could bid on this certain
So
unit.
there's only one manufacturer licensed for that year, and they protect their own
Yeah,
territory?
The only other one that that I talked to was actually Ditch Witch, and there were certain specifications that we wanted to have as a unit, and I told them to bid if they're interested in bidding on it. Give us a bid, give us a unit that they come comparable to it, but they didn't send us a bid. So I think this is a real specified type of a unit that not a whole lot of manufacturers out there are making these.
Terry, do we get any training with this? I mean, something
Yeah,
strong
there's-
enough to suck up rocks sounds pretty dangerous to me.
There's 4 hours of training included with bid specifications.
So how many people are we going to train to use this?
We're going to train the whole water distribution department.
Motion to award bid to Dakota Supply Group.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Action to approve, consider which bid, if any, of Lot R-3 of the depot addition to the city of Mitchell, South Dakota, lying in the north one-half of the southwest one-quarter of Section 22, Township 103 North, Range 60 west of the 5th PM, City of Mitchell, South Dakota.
Yeah, I think I can address that, Mayor. It's another attempted sale to what I would call preferred buyers, and preferred buyers are preferred by law because they're adjoining landowners on property which originally was leased railroad property, and state's getting out of the leasing business. And so I think 3 or 4 years ago, the city purchased this particular parcel, which is essentially the parking lot to the front of the depot, running west to a building that's owned by Mr. Tom and Scott in Marine, and then it runs back a ways. And there's 2 adjoining owners, and there was no advertisement required. I put out solicitations for bids, I guess, or essentially offers, with the strong recommendation that for the city to positively consider this, and this was directed by Mayor Tracy, that agreement be reached between the 2 adjoining owners, and apparently that hasn't happened. Whether, right now, I don't know where it's at, if anywhere, and where it will go from here, if anywhere. I don't have an answer for that at this point in time, but we're not prepared to act on anything tonight. If ever. It'll have to wait and see what happens, what resolves, if anything. Nothing to do.
So we don't have any bids?
And there's no time, there's a statute, you may be familiar with that, Councilperson Olson, that allows property that came through the railroad in the Milwaukee sale to the state to be sold to adjoining landowners. In this case, there's 2, and unless they can come to resolution as to how they would do it, my advice to them was the city would probably not be, would most likely, if they were going to do it, would be do it if there was some kind of a reconciliation between the 2 parties. We don't have that at the moment.
So what action do we take? If there's nothing to do. Nothing to do, right?
So the 50,000 basically was the amount that came back with the recommendation of the group.
That's correct, and the city purchased it for 47, was the state's appraisal. I think it was 4 years ago. 10 years ago? Well, time flies. But I wasn't around for that, and I just pulled that number out of the air. But the group came back, they thought it was 50,000 was a fair value, and how that will resolve, if it resolves, I don't have an answer for that.
Have you had any discussions with either of these people since you've been in?
Yes, I had Jerry Carey and John Foster, and in fact, John's sitting back there. They both came in last week one day, sit down and talked to and Tim McGannon about it. And I think if I understood you correctly back there, John, it was because you guys weren't planning on ever submitting a bid on it. Is that correct?
I'm sorry. Can I step forward?
Yes, please do.
You're right. We had not planned on submitting a bid. We had been somewhat hit by the $50,000 figure when we saw it. We do have an investment when that lot was originally acquired by the city. And so we put $20,000 toward it at that time. So that's why we just felt that it was too much to bid on. We didn't feel that we were going to participate in it. And obviously, Tom hasn't done anything either. But the main thing is to understand that we've been maintaining that lot for the last 19 years when it comes to cleaning, hiring cleaning. And that's just not like it says in the original agreement, picking up trash. I mean, I do that on a daily basis anyway. But we've been hiring, sweeping once a month. We do all the snow removal. The city hauls the snow off the lot. We pile it up. So we've been maintaining that public parking lot for all those years. When the original agreement said that we would have use of the south half of that lot, which means that the other half could be used by the general public. Well, we've never denied anybody use of it, whether it be mud racers or whatever. Anybody that comes in there, they're using it. Whether it's the parade just recently, it's buses, it's people that aren't our customers. You know, we've been good neighbors. So we basically, in essence, we had something happen here a little while ago in the chamber with another bid process. I'm here to ask you to make it go away.
Your desire is to just leave it status quo, right?
Yeah,
And
I think, you know, it's certainly been an asset for us, and originally it was meant to, we were doing pretty decent business down there way back when this was done and the agreement was made. Other buildings have come down with the city's help, so on and so forth. That end of Main Street was beautified because of that. Was made to look a lot nicer. There were a lot more people coming to our building and looking at some of the ugly buildings, so on and so forth, especially on the next block on the west side of Main. So all in all, yeah, we didn't spend a lot of money on the building, but we put $750,000 into that building and made it work for us and it made it work for the city. We have a lot of city functions in there. We have groups that come in, the Lions, the Kiwanis, other people. We don't charge them a bunch of money. Matter of fact, we don't charge them anything to use that. So all in all, the lot has really helped everyone with regard to that.
Yeah, we can't repeal the state law, but it would take action of the city council, and Mayor Tracy directed this. I thought it was
I had no, it's my fault. One of my owners, the original confusion was over that streetscape. And he thought the streetscape park was going to be that lot, the lot in question. Couldn't get it out of his head. So anyway, I went to the mayor. I said, first off, I made sure that he wanted me to go ahead with this. Well, yeah. Anyway, I went to Mayor Tracy. Well, about 4 months later, sometime last fall, he came to me and told me that this was going to go before the council. Well, even at that time, we didn't know that it was going to be a $50,000 figure. Regardless, first that part, and then the other part that I was told was that by Mayor Tracy was that we could build no buildings on it. And this is the big point that I don't know if you know this or not. There's a boilerplate restriction with the railroad, and Carl knows about it. It's in the bid papers that we have. The boilerplate restriction is that a building cannot be built on a railroad site, whether it's sold or passed or whatever, anything adjacent to a railroad. Nothing can be built on there, but it has to be at a railroad crossing. Well, obviously, we're not a railroad crossing. So I was told that no building could be built on this property. Well, if this was opened up to the public, somebody wanted to buy that building for $50,000, they could have put a building within 20 feet of my front door. Completely take out the parking lot. So that's why I'm asking that it just go away and understand that we've had some misinformation. We'll call it misinformation, and and let it go at that. But that's what brings me here tonight, and that's what brings us to the fact that we have no bids and so on, so.
I was trying to leave a clean slate behind at the time and get these things cleaned up, I guess, as been going on for a while. But, got the subject out here.
Yeah,
Served
yeah.
purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's all I'm asking, is that it, basically, that it goes back into the, instead of surplus property, that it's taken back into the city. So.
I'll put that up for next time. More consideration than the council.
Well, no, I understand. I understand, and I appreciate your time and the fact that you're able to do this, but.
I'll take my direction from there.
So, John, would you be interested in it if it was at a lower price?
Well, I think Jerry would be, but the problem is I think you have a state law involved here, a state statute with regard to a bid price or with a
Yeah.
So much of the valuation, yeah.
with an evaluation.
I guess what
like
I
that,
was
and that's
thinking
not-
is if there was any leeway with the city assigning a monetary value to all of the maintenance that has been done over the years.
Mhm.
There's
Well-
only one way to skin a cat.
Yeah, I know, and I understand that, I put a rough pencil to it, snow removal, 2,000 to 3,000 a year. But over 19 years, it's a lot of money, so, and the cleaning and the maintenance. I have no problem with any of that. I really don't. We've been good neighbors. We want them to keep it clean. It's the cleanest parking lot in town, as far as I'm concerned. We've had 3 water breaks, well, 1 fix, 2 water breaks. We've maintained it. We put the sidewalk back, the parking lot back the way it was. It looks a little newer than the rest of it. But nonetheless, we've done due diligence on that, and we've taken care of it as it was our own. So, we treat it as our own. So, we appreciate the fact that it's there and we're able to use it. But we do have an investment in it. I feel personally responsible for it because we've been given the opportunity to have that there for the length of time. I don't know if any of you remember the building that was there. There was a reason for that because it was a gravel lot in front, and then it was the old dairy, Mayor Distributing, Jim D. owned it at the end, and so on. So it was pretty ugly. And that whole end of town the whole end of Main Street needed to be cleaned up, and it was. And that was kind of the impetus. That's what started it all. So, anyway, I think I've taken, if there are any other questions.
If he directs me to
Yeah.
prepare a rescission resolution, I'll do so.
I know.
And one other thing maybe we could just throw into the mix is the fact that, if it isn't gonna be sold, and John just wants to take it back, the way it was originally and let him maintain and away we go. But 3 years from now, you're gonna be facing a different council.
Well, I
Reading
understand.
my mind.
I understand that, but
So
we
there's
have
a possibility of a long-term lease, or something to that effect, that then solidifies
Mhm,
that
yeah.
you would not be
Yeah.
afraid to keep investing into the parking lot, knowing that you're gonna be able to retain it for
Yeah.
I'll take a
perpetuity.
look at that too. I
Mhm.
haven't thought about that, but that's,
Yeah. The use of the lot and so on and so forth, we have an agreement with the city originally it was done with the, across the street here. MEDC. And then it was all transferred to the city. That property was transferred to the city through there. So that's where the agreement started. And we have an agreement in place for maintenance for all of that. As a matter of fact, I think we're probably doing more than the agreement actually says as far as snow removal and so on. But I'm not here to argue that.
Stop the city from selling.
Well, I know, and that,
Yeah, I'll take a look at the.
regardless of whoever, I'm representing somebody else as well.
Right.
That's where this all came from, but myself, I could see the difference, but I'm just saying, I appreciate the fact that other people have done some work on this and so on, and there's been marking on their lot and looking for underground utilities and all of those things, and all that's been done, and I appreciate the work and the time that's been, and the effort that's been put into it, but,
This is my thought, and I have no idea if it's legal or not, but, contract for deed, if the amount is I don't know if it's 50,000 for the whole, or yours is 25, and Tom's would be 25, I don't know. But if you had a deal where you said, well, the past maintenance is worth such and such, and we'll apply that to the contract fee. And then, you know, as the maintenance, if it's another 10 years of maintenance, and then it's the depots, then that's the way it is. But I am absolutely in Jeff's boat here, because every 3 years you have to fight this.
Right.
And it would be nice to have some certainty, especially after all this time.
Well, one thing, you know, I'm not going to ask you. I'm not going to approach anybody on it. This was a one-shot thing where we were worried because of that, not personally me, but our ownership was worried that we were going to lose that parking lot to this streetscape parking, or park. That's what started this. So it ended up being this parking lot across the street, north of Railroad Avenue. Nonetheless, there was an error made in where that was going to be,
When you whack the hive, you're never sure where the bees are going to go.
That's
If you put in that agreement, he's gonna start having to pay taxes on that property, and it's been valued at $50,000.
And that's why I'm wondering, maybe a lease might be a better option, just to make for sure that the history we got tonight from John
Very good.
is very good, and there's reasoning behind why we have a partnership.
You're a good partner.
Well,
Can we do a long-term
You
lease on
don't
it?
want another parking lot in town or two, do you?
Oh,
Carl?
it's going good. It's,
Carl,
like I said,
can we do a long-term lease on it?
There are statutes that regulate that, I can't remember what they are off the top of my head, but I'll have to look at them and talk to you about it.
He has been a good neighbor. You take a look at that barbecue event that they had down there. That was a great area. That was all confined to that area. It was really a great event.
Would you be okay with that, John?
that's fine.
We work
Yeah,
out a long-term lease?
work on something, at least look at it. Yeah, I have no problem. That's the problem. Everybody does. Or a lot of people do. Nobody realizes that we don't. But like I said, we take it upon ourselves. We have, we carry insurance for us, and the city is on our policy. The city is a beneficiary on our policy. Additional beneficiary, yeah. Yeah, no, it is, just in case we have problems, but it is, we do that for a reason. But anyway, okay? Yep. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, Earl.
I'll get together with Carl and we'll talk about it and get back to the council on this, what we come up with. Okay, Carl?
Yep, very good.
Okay, so we'll go to number 20, action to approve capital grant funding agreement, section 5339, funds between Palace Transit and the South Dakota Department of Transportation for CB radios.
These are two-way radios that we had to get for our two new buses, and instead of paying full price, we applied for the grant.
Our share is 1,350 and
Correct.
federal share is 5,400.
Yes, correct. And this is the second time we've gotten this grant for the CB radios this year. So we've spent, the total funding for both sets has been $12,284.07, and we've spent approximately $3,000 of that. So we budgeted the 14, and it's costing us a total of $3.
You're on the next one. There's another one.
Motion, was it? Oh, okay. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Action to approve capital grant funding agreement, section 5311, funds between Palace Transit and the South Dakota Department of Transportation.
This is our annual grant to operate Palace Transit for administrative and operating funds.
Motion approved.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Adjourned.
Set a record. I think